On the next episode of Discover Janesville, we talk about the proposed referendum to raise property taxes, new roundabouts and businesses coming to town, and more with our city correspondent Dan Hartung. State Senator Kathleen Vinehout speaks about the mining and healthcare reform in Wisconsin. We talk school board and Madison politics with our political correspondent Kathy Myers. Eric Kuznasik checks in with upcoming concerts featuring Real Big Fish, Stone Sour, and Murder by Death. Dennis Vindedahl talks about his new business, Water Wellness Store, providing customers with Kangen water machines by eMagic. This and music by the nominees for Janesville Area Creativity Outstanding Original Song Award on the next Discover Janesville with Yuri Rashkin, starting right now. Well, welcome to the program. This is podcast number 2 of 2013. We have a lot to get to, and we're going to start our conversation today by talking with our city correspondent, Dan Hartung. Dan, welcome back to the show. We've got a full plate of material to get through, so let's get to it.
The big new thing is that the City Council is proposing the budget referendum. They are dealing with these caps that were placed into state law last year, and then they're dealing with the staffing and budget issues on both public safety and maintenance issues. So where do we get the money for these things is a question. Do we keep trying to cut all our other programs? Do we look for these chimerical savings someplace? I mean, at this point, we've gone through about 4 budget cycles where we've tried to shave things, and I don't think we're going to find any new big budget items unless we cut something that people really care about. So,
let me ask you this question. Usually when you see these kinds of referendums asked for, in my understanding is it's for capital improvements. In this case, we have something that is not a capital improvement, something that we're looking to taxpayers, City Council is looking to taxpayers to finance an ongoing set of expenses such as salaries for police and fire departments. What happens when that money runs out?
Well, this isn't. I think it's an ongoing adjustment to the cap, is my understanding. So whatever it would be set at for this year, it would be set for next year. Now, I don't know how that affects the City Council's cap manipulation ability in future years, or whether they can. Would have to, are they above the cap now and they have to wait until the capitalization of the city construction catches up before they can vote in an increase? I'm not sure how that law actually works, but it's an interesting question.
It's a new kind of a referendum. This is not just...
It is. Now, it's new for Wisconsin because we've previously had pretty good state shared revenues supporting us. As they used to call it, property tax relief. And now we're cutting the property tax relief, so the city is forced to go to the citizens and say, can we raise property taxes, basically. And
not just for this year, but for every year. This is, we need your permission to add this to the tax bill.
Right.
Well, there's somebody who would say that maybe this makes sense, right? Because you're asking...
Well, it's democracy. It's certainly democracy.
Right.
If the taxpayers... Now, as I understand it, something between 6 and 12 communities in Wisconsin have already done this, that they've gone to a referendum and their citizens have said, yes, this new cap prevents us from spending as much as we want to spend on our services. And so the citizens have voted in an increase. In past years...
this has passed as an increase now in other communities.
Right, in something over 5% of Wisconsin communities.
Is there, I'm just thinking that this was actually, I'm sure, designed as a way to disengage state from this ongoing set of expenses. Is this going to somehow backfire that we need state less and less? What can be all our individual fiefdom?
Well, in a broader implication sense, what we have is the state saying, okay, the individual communities are going to fall back on their own wealth. So this means that the cities that have a pretty good tax base, they have jobs, they have businesses, they have well-to-do taxpayers with, palatial homes, et cetera, that they will be able to raise the money to have good schools, to have well-repaired roads, and so on. But then you have the communities that have less of these things, less jobs, less expensive homes, and basically less money overall, and they're going to have a harder time meeting these service obligations.
So here's the question. Is Janesville a community that is well-to-do, or is Janesville a community that is struggling? Because it seems to me that if we vote to support these services, then we're making a statement that we're a community that is interested in investing in its future and so forth. And if these fail in Janesville, then we're essentially saying that we're a community that is struggling, and that really has to be very careful about the money it spends. And here we go.
Well, obviously, I think there are people on both sides of that. I don't want to dispute the fact that we're struggling. We lost a $7 million payroll when GM closed. There's been a lot of job losses. There have been people who found employment, but it's not at the same level. So there is a little less wealth and income in the city right now. But on the other hand, we really haven't lost that much population. We're not emptying out like some of these other industrial towns that are sort of notorious, Flint, Michigan, Youngstown, Ohio, Cleveland, Detroit. We don't have the major structural problems, or at least not yet, that have been seen there. And we're talking disappearancing, 40% of the population disappearing from a city. In Janesville, what have we lost? Less than 1% of the students enrolled in the schools. I think that's an indication that there isn't some kind of mass exodus. So there are people who are staying here, and I hope that those people still believe in the community and are still willing to make it work as a community. So that may require a little stepping forward and putting a little more in the community kitty that we can do to supply these services that make Janesville a great community.
So here's the next question. If we have this, just to kick this horse one more time, first of all, is this a done deal? Is this going to be a referendum? And second of all, this was brought up by two council members, one of whom is up for re-election this spring. What implications do you think this can have?
Well, that's the way the ball bounces when it hits the pavement, I guess. I can't say. I think we have to go through a little bit of a process before the referendum is set, hearings and so forth. But then there's the question of how many council members want to even support this. I mean, we'd have to have a majority on the council say that we want a referendum so that at least it can be asked. This would mean essentially a plurality, at least on the council, that wants to increase taxes beyond the cap, and then a couple other council members that are of the opinion that the community should be asked regardless. So if you add those two factions together, and then you get a majority, then you get the referendum. But obviously, if you don't have that, there's no referendum, and we're stuck under the cap. So I don't have the answers to how the individual council members feel on that.
Right. I'm just trying to, it's a very, very interesting issue, and we're going to keep our eyes on it. All right. What's the next thing we want to talk about?
I think the biggest new news here is the Jackson Street Bridge. That's been a concern for a lot of citizens for a couple of years as it's been deteriorating. It's well beyond its 50-year lifespan, which is sort of the mental average that engineers peg on a bridge. So that bridge is looking a little decrepit. It's suffered a lot of abuse as GM grew, and it became a 4-lane bridge supporting that commute year after year after year. Then we had the if you will, the collapse of the tax base and some lean years where the city didn't want to spend the money to keep its appearance at least intact. Now, I have maintained, and I've sat in on some of the committee meetings and looked at the materials online, so I have a sense that this is not a bridge that was in any danger of being, a huge, embarrassing, dangerous collapse, but it was suffering. Yes, it had some very disturbing, concerning aesthetic issues if you looked at it up close, but that was basically the concrete that surrounded the steel supports. It's not the actual structure. It looks like hell, yes.
Well, and Jackson Street Bridge also had a very vocal group of supporters, most notably Billy McCoy.
Yes.
Called radio station on, I think, daily basis, if not hourly, to talk about Jackson Street Bridge. And I was really impressed with how our Public Works Director, Carl Weber, has handled that situation in the sense that he created a citizen committee that included people from various backgrounds, including Billy McCoy, and these people are now, so to say, are on the inside of the tent where they are privy to seeing just what's going on, and nobody's really hiding anything. And,
right.
I think that's just, I was impressed.
I think that is a very Janesville way to approach things, and I'm really happy it happened that way. Now, I think what happens is you sit on those committee meetings and you hear it. It's a long process. They have to look at they have to have these inspections. They have to rate the bridge on a scale. And if they want to get any money out of the state or federal governments to repair it, they have to meet a certain level of insufficiency, as they call it. So it finally met that. These were valid concerns. I don't want to say that I don't think they were valid, but I think some people are a little more worried about it. How could they let this happen? Well, it's an old bridge. Bridges get old, and eventually you have to make this decision. I don't think there's any easy way, unless you're one of these rich communities that I don't think we really are, to replace those bridges before they get, look a little ratty.
Let me ask you this. Last I checked, GM plant is no longer operational for several years. Do we really need a bridge there?
Well, I think there's no question we need a bridge. It's a north-south arterial. It connects the residential areas in the downtown to an industrial area that, it's almost certain to be redeveloped in the coming years. So, yes, we need to plan because, as I said, 50 years. You're planning on a half-century timeline when you're planning a bridge. You're trying to think what is going to be there, not in 2020, but what is going to be there in 2050 and 2070. So, yes, on that time scale, there's a bridge location. And, if you look back on, for instance, the famous future plan for Janesville that was done by John Nolan, the man who designed, was named John Nolan Drive in Madison was named after. There are certain places that there are bridges that were not built at the time and have basically been built. The only one that didn't get built, there's one roughly where the Veterans Memorial Bridge is. There's one that's a little farther in from where the Crosby Willard Bridge is. And now Jackson Street is there, Center Avenue is there. The only one that isn't here in the real world and that was proposed would be one that would have extended Rockport due east across the river. That probably is not needed.
All right. So the bridge is moving forward.
It looks like it will, and again, this is coming from grant money. We're going to get a lot of money that is out there to rebuild bridges, and here we are. We have a bridge that is obviously in need of rebuilding. Excellent. So that's the way the system is supposed to work.
When is this going to be out there, up and running, so everyone can enjoy? When is some action going to happen there, do you think?
I don't think they've announced an actual timeline. They need to have some I's dotted and T's crossed. But we're probably looking at, roughly a year without a bridge there. So maybe in 2014, 2015.
Interesting. Maybe there'll be a ferry.
Well, that's how Janesville got started.
That's right. All right. Speaking of starting and, well, I guess future, we got roundabouts.
Yes, there's so many emotional reactions to roundabouts, and here now they're coming. This is not the city saying, hey, let's put in a roundabout where there isn't a roundabout and just see how people think about it. This is the federal government, and
I believe that was the plan behind Menards, actually. That
was the beginning of roundabouts being available in Wisconsin, and now what is happening is that they are becoming standard as an interchange, and certainly the WSDOT people really believe in them. So we're going to see more roundabouts. We're going to see them especially at interchanges because it simplifies the traffic flow. It eliminates signalization. It eliminates cross traffic. And the big point here is that they like it because it eliminates fatal crashes almost completely, 90%. So what we're going to see...
some of these are better laid out than others, in my opinion. Not all roundabouts are created equal, but I got to say, I like the idea in general. They make a lot of sense to me, and I found it kind of frustrating that during the time that the council was discussing roundabout on Wuthering Hills and East Milwaukee, it seems like a much better and more needed roundabout is just down the street at by Fagan Automotive and Rock County Honda, because you have just several...
You mean as a potential location,
yes.
Right.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, well, that is, I would say that too. Wuthering Hills, that's a place where there was one fatal accident and some others that weren't fatal, and the city was basically saying, can we improve this by making it a roundabout? And I think the answer is yes, but not by enough that you're going to get a groundswell behind it and say, this needs to be done. But if you look at something like that intersection at Wright Road in Milwaukee, you have 5 points coming in with Mount Zion. Yes, that is a very complex intersection. There's a lot of waiting for the lights. There's a lot of cross traffic in different directions, left turn signals, et cetera. And that is actually where a roundabout excels, because you come up to the roundabout, you go in, and you come out where you need to, and you never actually have to stop in a lot of cases. So you eliminate all of this waiting.
And I think there's a lot of steady but fairly light traffic in that area.
Right.
And at the same time, you have like 3 triangles controlling that intersection, which to me, like these triangular patches of grass, which to me tells me that something's not working to begin with. And then in order to get from like one side of the intersection to make a left turn, you literally just about have to go around the whole 5-point intersection, which just mirroring a roundabout. But clearly, somewhere they work better than other places. So we're going to have one on Racine. Nice.
Right, and that's also, there's going to be a new bridge. So that's crucially, they're going to build the bridge alongside the existing one, so there won't be very much disruption of traffic.
Very good.
I think it's going to be very visible to people. People are going to get to watch the project being built, and then, of course, it's going to interlock, be a transition to what I think are these a very nice gateway on the boulevard going up Racine Street Hill, which was originally the edge of Janesville, and it was really designed to be a pleasant entrance to the city. And then you have the new construction at St. Mary's and what's going to happen on that intersection.
Well, we'll keep our eyes open. What's the final thing we wanted to cover today, Dan?
Well, I just want to talk about this, economically. Janesville is starting to see green shoots and leaves, sort of signs of spring in terms of development. We've got 4 that I know of, rather notable changes, moves, entries to the city. First of all, we've got the Anytime Fitness on West Court Street. They're moving across the street to the old Blockbuster building. So that is a sore spot, if you will, of pretty visible vacant property. It's at the crest of a hill. It's on a busy highway, and you can see, that's going to be a great improvement to that area.
I think it was one of those things where you drive down the street and you see that there is a new marquee going up over that building. You go, oh, that's nice. Just because you want that building occupied by something. So,
somewhat related, I guess I'll transition it this way. Planet Fitness, I believe, is the name of the business that is moving into what has not been a drugstore for years. It's been a vacant. I think they've had flea markets in there.
I think that
has
been old Century 21 space.
Well, it was a drugstore years ago, is what I'm told. I can't quite remember. Pardon me, my years out of the city, but when it was built, it was a Kohl's 2, the arched building, which is now Big Lots. And so it was probably the drugstore attached to the Kohl's supermarket.
It will be, the results will be revealed during an archaeological dig coming up.
Yes, we could find that out. But this is, I think the key thing here, it's a fitness business. It's not going to change the overall appearance of that strip very much, but what is interesting is that this, and with the Anytime Fitness improvements, you're seeing an interest in what are high-end athletic sort of luxury expenses. I think a lot of your financial planners would call this something that you can cut if you're trying to trim your budget. And so the fact that these businesses are investing in Janesville, and that's also true of one of the third, which is the tennis center. Now that's a building. It was built for tennis originally, a couple of decades ago, and then that kind of failed. And I think maybe the issue is that they were paying for this big building that was constructed, purpose-built, and then it became vacant for a while, and a couple of industrial operations in there. And then interestingly, they've moved out, but the building is still pretty much intact for the original sports use. And if they were able to pick it up on a song and then they put in some renovations, you've got a much lower overhead, hopefully. Obviously, I don't know the exact numbers, but that would make it more affordable to go back to being a tennis athletic center. And indoor tennis during the winter is, I'm told, it's a pretty big in Madison. Madison seems to have a lot more than the usual per capita availability of these. So we're sort of in an area where that's of interest. We've got enough people that might be traveling to Madison to do this already and would want to do it locally. So I wish them good luck. I think they have a good chance of succeeding if they have less to pay for. And this fits in, as I say, the two fitness businesses. This is something that indicates that there is disposable income in Janesville that people are seeking. So
let me just, I guess, put a local angle on this. I would imagine this puts some pressure on local businesses that are in the same business. Sure.
It's a little more competition for the Y and so forth. The Janesville Athletic Club. These places that
which is
currently cater.
Actually, I should mention that I think Janesville Athletic Club has probably got hit the hardest of all the parking rearrangement on the parking plaza downtown.
Yeah, I can see that, definitely.
Okay, but yeah, so it is a growing business.
The Express Center, yeah. Then the last one is that we've got the Damon's location. Again, it's a high-profile location. You can see it from the interstate. It's right next to a hotel. That's someplace where you'd really expect a business to be thriving, and when it's sitting there vacant, you have to wonder at the overall health of someplace like Janesville. But it's going to get a Quaker State and Lube, which is a funny name, but they started in an old garage years ago, and the chain has sort of continued that theme. And from everything that I've heard, it's on the higher end of casual dining, and casual dining is, of course, the biggest growth in the restaurant industry right now. So This is a chain coming to Janesville and deciding to invest. Obviously, local franchisor. Somebody's putting money into Janesville because they think they'll get a return on their investment.
Right, and of course, this is another project from Sarah Investments, which is a business that owns 101 East Milwaukee and has heavily invested in Janesville, and this is just another result of their work. So, some good things happening.
I think these are all fairly positive signs. So I think we enter 2013 with an upbeat note.
Excellent. Dan, well, thank you very much, and Happy New Year. We'll talk next week.
We will.
Bye-bye.
Good night.
I've been down on my luck, been down too long this time. I drank until the bottom, till I found myself there too, and the taste of defeat had never been so sweet. So I poured another glass, failed again and again. I've been down and I've been higher than 6 hours. I passed the higher powers if they would just spare a drink. Did they answer my cries? I was a bit preoccupied. I toasted them, boasted to them, if they had met their match. But as long as there is whiskey in the world, we can drink away the heartache, we can drink away the girls who we long to love, but we'll never touch. As long as there is whiskey in the world. I have loved, and I've lost all that they gave me. They all try and save me, but I'm seeing this thing through, and these feelings of remorse, they leave me no recourse. So I poured another glass, fell again and again. But as long as there is whiskey in the world, we can drink away the heartache, we can drink away the girls who are young, so young, but we'll never touch. As long as there is whiskey in the world, I don't want to be
Every week we are joined by Eric Kuznasik to tell us about upcoming concerts in the area. We've actually taken a couple of weeks off, but now, Eric, welcome back to 2013, or welcome to 2013. Welcome back to Discover Janesville. What is it that we just listened to? What's going on?
That was As Long as There Is Whiskey in the World by the band Murder by Death.
That's an optimistic title.
And they seem to sing, there's a couple of their songs that refer to whiskey, so I'm thinking that's the drink of choice with that band.
That's good to know, because if you want to buy a drink for the band afterwards, it's nice when they let you know up front, here's what we would like.
Absolutely.
Just a straightforward communication. These guys are from Bloomington, Indiana. Is there a big rock scene in Indiana besides the Jacksons?
Well, Bloomington being where Indiana University is at, I know there's been, John Cougar Mellencamp came out of Bloomington, and I believe still lives down there, so you've got that. But, Murder by Death is just one of these bands kind of on the indie rock circuit that's been around now for, it's probably at least a decade. And, I saw them a number of years ago over in Twin Lakes, Wisconsin, and they have just a real unique sound. They use a lot of, they have like an electric cello player and a lot of unique instruments to kind of make a sound that's really distinguishable. If you hear them a couple times, you know when you hear a Murder by Death song.
That is important for a band to have a distinct sound that you still want to listen to. Very good. What is the next song what is the next concert we want to talk about?
Well, before we go to the next one, I just wanted to mention that Murdered by Death will be January 18th. That's Friday night up in Madison at the High Noon Saloon for an 18 and over show. And you can get more information on that. Go to the High Noon Saloon's website.
Excellent. It sounds like there's quite a few good bands playing at High Noon Saloon. I see it pop up here and there on a regular basis.
Yeah, it's one of those kind of mid-sized rooms. I don't know, maybe 600 or 800 people if you really pack people in there. It's a newer venue, nice sound, so it's a nice place to see a show.
Excellent. Yeah, I suppose that, I can take the opportunity to throw in there. A friend of mine is in a band there. Used to be, I guess, pretty big in the early 80s called The Producers. And one of the producers now lives in Madison and has a blues band, and he'll be performing with his blues band at High Noon Saloon on January 29th, I recall, and that's like at 6 p.m. So if you want to see a gracefully aging rock star, you should check out the producer's bass player, Kyle Henderson, and his blues band at High Noon Saloon. See.
Good stuff. And they do, if it's at 6 p.m., it's probably one of their happy hour concerts, and that's always an interesting, you get the after-work crowd rather than the late-night rock crowd, and those shows can be fun, too.
Yeah, and I was speaking to a friend of mine who let me know about this concert, actually. She was quite excited that for once this did not require staying up at all hours of the night to see a good band.
Hey, I'm all on board for that. It started at 7, ended by 10:30, be home in bed by midnight. That's a good night.
Nice. And on that note, we have a Stone Sour with Papa Roach. That sounds delicious.
Stone Sour, yeah, that's one of the bands that Corey Taylor is a part of. He's, of course, the Slipknot lead singer, also the lead singer of Stone Sour, both from Des Moines, Iowa, which happens to be my hometown, so I always like to take the opportunity and prop up those guys when I have the chance.
All right, so what is unique about their sound?
They're just, music gets segmented into so many different categories. You've got black metal and death metal, and you've got alternative country and country western, and so everything has its own little subgenre, but I think you can describe Stone Sour as a straight-up rock band.
Straight-up rock band. Well, there's, I would hope there would be some people out there who would still like that subgenre.
It's for it's for all. If you say you like one kind of rock, and any of the heavier stuff, I think that you could probably get down with Stone Sour sound. Even they've got some real heavy songs, but they've got some more on the the lighter rock ballad side. But it's just like I said, a straight up rock band.
Well, let's see. So, what is the song? Well, let's see. Where are they playing, and what is the song that we're going to listen to?
They are going to be up at the Rave in Milwaukee on Friday, January 25th. An all-ages show. That's a mistake there on the script. But and it's right now, if you go to therave.com, 2-for-1 tickets. I guess so a ticket price is $30.50, so you get 2 of them for that, plus the fees. That's a pretty good night of music. And I guess we'll listen to a little Stone Sour here. This is the song Absolute Zero off their latest album, which came out last fall. It's a 2-part album. That the second part will come out sometime this year.
You're listening to Discover Janesville.
The
And we're back with Eric Kuznasik talking about upcoming concerts. Eric, what is the final show we want to talk about?
Well, when I saw this show listed, especially the two bands that are playing, I thought maybe it was 1997 because
no kidding.
It's the two. They had a song together way back then, and I didn't even realize. I knew that Real Big Fish, which is the headlining band, was still around, but the opening band called Pilfers is kind of a ska reggae band from the East Coast. I had no idea they were still around, so that was a nice surprise. Well, and
these are just fun shows, and if you haven't been to a good ska show and you know Real Big Fish is a good ska, it's just a lot of fun. When I used to live in Utah, ska was huge in '90s, and for all I know, still is, because it is such a clean, good, fun ska music. But I myself ended up being in a band called Rhythm Fish, so I think Fish was kind of part of this whole, either you can have scatolites where there's ska or Fish. There were certain identifying characteristics, I think, of the genre.
I've noticed that too, that a lot of those bands have, especially the ska. My roommate in college, we had a ska radio show, and he had posters of all these bands I had never heard of, and ska was definitely, they like to shout out the name of the genre in the band name a lot of times.
Yes. An interesting cultural, anthropological phenomenon. All right, so what is the fun song that these guys are going to throw out? What are we looking at here? Song 3?
This is kind of a deep track from one of their albums back in the 90s. Real Big Fish did a song with the lead singer of Pilfers, just a little duet. It was on the end of Why Do They Rock So Hard was the name of the album. I think it was somewhere around 1997 or 1998, which is probably the last time I listened to the song until I saw that this show was coming up. And that will be Sunday, January 20th at the Majestic Theater up in Madison. And that's I believe it's an 18 and over show, $20 in advance, $22 at the door.
Nice. Eric, well, thanks so much for being on the program. Real Big Fish with Pilfers. This is Discover Janesville.
Bristol Bass, put a ranks on the case alongside Real Big Fish, the RBF. Speed relatively slow, so tight. Watch it on. Loud of the flowers, if I make a move, forget me go. Kind on to it, I'll play. Come on. I like the way you shake it, baby. Get me in the mood now. Real Big Fish, it's gonna start the party, whoa. The cooler ranks is on your microphone. Real Big Fish. We're on the East Coast connection, West Coast connection, providing the music selection for your dance stimulation. Calling all nations for participation. You play this show and up on your radio station. And when we come out now, the people start screaming. Cause collaboration makes the enemies them grieve. Be on eyes of the plane, and you know what I mean. Cooler ranking coming, Real Big Fish now coming. Real Big Fish is gonna start the party, whoa. Your cooler ranks on your microphone. Real Big Fish. Real Big Fish. Gonna stop the party, whoa. Your cooler ranks on your microphone. Launch pad turbo. Hey. When you get them on, we're rocking it the way that you way back in on the day. We're cooling on the shade. We are drink with lemonade. No calories, just hot. Grab a party brigade. You see how them are walk, we have them on parade. Here we live a lifestyle, but we got the main. Want a baby girl and I do it for your shade. I like the way you shake it, baby. Get me in the mood now. Real Big Fish. It's gonna start the party, whoa. Your cooler ranks is on your microphone. Real Big Fish. Real Big Fish. It's gonna start the party, whoa. Your cooler ranks is on your microphone. Real Big Fish. Our infamous one easy, one more time. Bringing on the arms of steel. All of mercy, with the sex appeal. Y'all never know this is for real. your microphone. Help us drill big fish. Help us drill big fish. You're gonna start the party, whoa. The student is on your microphone. Help us drill big fish. Help us drill big fish. You're gonna start your party, whoa. The student is on your microphone. Help us drill big fish.
You're listening to Discover Janesville with Yuri Rashkin, and we'll be back after these messages. Discover Janesville is proud to welcome a new sponsor, Water Wellness. Water Wellness is bringing a product to Janesville we thought we already knew, good water. But what makes Water Wellness water different from other water you can buy in Janesville is alkaline. Said to be a healthier version of water because it helps create a healthy pH balance, alkaline water contains antioxidants, assists in cleansing the colon and detoxifying the body. It can even help improve hydration at the cellular level. Generated through a unique process of electrolysis, alkaline water involves taking regular tap water and separating it into two halves. One is acidic, the other one is alkaline. Learn more about this great product at free demonstrations conducted every Tuesday and Friday at 2 p.m. at Water Wellness Store located at 220 West Milwaukee on the Janesville Mile. Got questions? Stop by the store and tell them you heard about alkaline water on Discover Janesville. The International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers, Local Union 890, and the National Electrical Contractors Association are proud to partner with Discover Janesville and promote the city of Janesville and all of southern Wisconsin. IBEW Local 890 and NECA take pride in their strong commitment to the local community and strive to provide safe, reliable electrical service to the citizens of Rock County. IBEW and NECA form a powerful partnership supplying the electrical industry with highly skilled and competent electricians and well-proven electrical contractors. Our workforce is poised and ready to complete your next project on time and on budget. Contact us at www.ibew890.org. Want to get involved in your community? Janesville New Lions Club is a group of community-minded, friendly men and women dedicated to help make Janesville a better place for all. Lions' mission is to help eradicate blindness and help visually impaired people, which Lions do in a variety of ways. From collecting used eyeglasses to delivering eye tissue to driving local visually impaired people to social outings. Janesville New Lions also take care of several parks, including Lions Beach. And coming up is the annual Rose Sale, which is the club's main fundraiser, helping fund all the Janesville New Lions projects throughout the year. Place your order by going to www.janesvillenewlions.org or by contacting any member of Lions Club in Janesville or Beloit. Orders are delivered anywhere in Rock County. Learn more by going to janesvillenewlions.org and join the club for lunch and a presentation on an important community issue on the first and third Tuesday of every month at the Elks Lodge at, you guessed it, noon. Janesville New Lions, be a lion. Did you know that you have a right under the Constitution for a fresh financial start? Many people these days have found themselves burdened by debt, the result of divorce, health issues, income loss, predatory lending practices by banks, and even the death of a spouse. Mary Law Offices helps people file for bankruptcy relief under the Bankruptcy Code. Mary Law Offices in Monroe, Janesville, Baraboo, and Stoughton have been in practice for 30 years. Roger Mary's reputation is as a lawyer who serves the underdog. As an attorney specializing in consumer bankruptcy, he has counseled clients at the most difficult points in their lives and has served generations of people in the south central regions of Wisconsin. Call Mary Law Offices at 608-325-2065 in Monroe or 608-758-1066 in Janesville for an appointment, or find us online at www.marylawoffice.com.
Join the UAA, celebrate the arts today. Join the UAA, share your art in every way. Artists and painters, musicians and actors, writers and singers, performers and dancers. Join the UAA, celebrate the arts today.
Southern Wisconsin Building and Construction Trades Council. We are not a union, but a union of unions. We cover almost every sector of the workforce in our jurisdiction, including members in the building construction trades, such as electricians, iron workers, sheet metal, and steam fitters, who promote apprenticeships to provide a skilled and trained workforce for our contractors. Visit our website at www.swbtrades.org for more information, or call 608-754-4130. Southern Wisconsin Building and Construction Trades Council. Building America. You're listening to Discover Janesville. This is Yuri Rashkin. And the next interview that I want to share with you is a conversation with local business owner Dennis Vinedal. Dennis, many of you probably know as owner of Jax Graphics, but recently Dennis has opened a new business that sells machines that create better water, basically. And I got very curious, so I stopped in and sampled the product, so to say, and was really impressed, and have been drinking a Kagan water over the last while, and wanted to sit down with Dennis and talk about this very interesting product. To be fair, Water Wellness Store is a sponsor of Discover Janesville. Dennis, welcome to the show, and I am excited to talk about the fine water product that you have here. The Water Wellness Store is, I think, what people see outside when they drive by, that there's demonstrations going on. Why is it so important to have a demonstration of this product rather than just come in and say, I want to buy this machine I saw it online?
Well, the skepticism behind the water is very rough for people to get past. Many people just think water's water, and a lot of people don't drink water. They haven't really given water a priority in their life to give it a real try, and most of us are walking around dehydrated. So once they come in and see the demonstration, we show people right in front of them why this water is unique, the three unique properties that it has. It's alkaline, it has a better absorption property, and it's loaded with antioxidants. And you can come in and try the water, too.
And antioxidants is the holy grail of health and fitness these days, and every fruit imaginable, pomegranate, advertises its antioxidant qualities, but your water, Kangen water and Magic Water, has a much higher level of antioxidants.
Yes, it does. As an example, we have a measuring device that measures the antioxidant in the water. And it's an electrical device that actually measures the energy of the water, or energy of whatever we're measuring. And let's say green tea. Green tea will measure about a minus 80 to a minus 100 on this meter, natural antioxidant. Even orange juice, freshly squeezed orange juice, is about a minus 50 on the meter, because vitamin C is a natural antioxidant. Blueberries are about a minus 300, strong antioxidant. Our water can be up to minus 800 on the antioxidant scale. So it's an extreme antioxidant. Our body is 70% water. So when you replace the water in your body with the water that's loaded with antioxidants, some incredible things start to happen.
Excellent. And how did you get involved in this business? Because people know you as owner of Jax Graphics.
Yeah. Well, I actually had a customer come in, and he wanted to make some business cards for his water business, and right away I thought, oh, it's another water softener company or a filter company, and he started telling me about what this water had done for him. He was an elderly fella and had incredible health results, basically changed his life, off all of his medications and those kind of things. So I started listening to him. I was always into health a lot, and I always drank a lot of water. So I was very skeptical, but I thought, hey, my customer's in here, I better be nice to him and try his water. So he brought me in some water, and right away I started drinking it, and both my wife and I noticed a difference instantly. Our energy increase went up, and many other things started happening. But if you want to hear my real story, come on down to the demo, and you'll hear everything. So,
all right, when's the demo?
The demos are on Tuesday night at 7 o'clock every week, and also at Friday at 2 in the afternoon.
Excellent.
So we talk a little bit more, not only just about water, we also talk about our digestive system and things that happen and how important the minerals are in your body for digestion and things like that, because a lot of our water source now, the minerals have been removed, which isn't necessarily good for us. We do need those minerals. So, and you learn about a lot of things when you come in.
What are some of the concerns that people have with the product?
The price.
Okay.
The big one, because it's actually a medical device. The unit that we sell is a medical device in Japan, and medical devices are expensive. There's a lot
and this is where the machine came from originally.
Yes.
The technology, it's a Japanese technology.
Yes. Well, no, actually the Russians invented it.
Darn those Russians. All right.
That was over 40 years ago.
Okay.
And then the Japanese got a hold of it and perfected it and made it work better.
Boy, this sounds totally unfamiliar. Okay. What a concept. Okay. So the Japanese perfected the existing technology, and now it's all over the world, including Janesville, Wisconsin. There's two kinds of a machine, and there's one that's more basic that just produces the drinking water.
Yeah.
And at a higher pH level, and then you have this other machine that has all sorts of other kinds of water that it can turn regular water into. Yeah. What are some of the features, some of the different options that are available on the more sophisticated version?
Well, that machine actually makes more than just drinking water. Our base model makes just drinking water. The bigger machines, we actually make 6 of them. There's different levels, but it actually makes a very, very acidic water down to 2.5 pH. Anything under 2.7 or lower becomes a natural antibacterial. So that water will kill any mold, mildew, fungus, E. coli, salmonella, even MRSA, the big flesh-eating one. It'll stop that in its tracks. And then on the other side of the scale, it makes an 11.5 pH, which is extremely high alkaline, a lot of oxygen in it, and it actually becomes an oil-based cleaner. And during our demonstration, you will actually see water emulsify oil. And right before your eyes, that's why we love to show the demonstration. But what that means is we can clean our vegetables, and it actually takes off the oil-based pesticides. The reason they're oil-based is so they don't wash off in the rain. And if we're just rinsing them under our normal tap water, we're really just taking the dust off. We're not cleaning the chemicals off. And during our demonstration, you'll actually taste the difference in the tomatoes that we clean here. So it's pretty exciting to see people's faces kind of cringe when they taste the dirty one. And the clean one tastes garden fresh.
Cool.
Yeah, so it makes actually 7 different pHs of waters. 4 of them are for drinking, and then the other 3 are for our skin, actually, because our skin is slightly acidic, and the acidic waters are good for our skin.
Is there something that people can do on their own to learn about the product before they come in for the demonstration? Is there anything that they should Google? Is there a website they should check out, or anything you can recommend?
Well, we have our own website. It's the waterwellnessstore.com, and pretty much most everything is on there. Some of our demonstrations are even on there. You'll see some things. But the thing about the internet, once you go on there, like anything else, you're going to find the good and the bad, and everything's a scam on the internet. It doesn't matter what the product is. It seems like everything is a scam. But this is something that you really have to see for yourself. And there's a lot of competitors on the internet that are kind of kiboshing our machine because they're all compared to our machine. Ours being the medical device, it is the most expensive, but we can show you why that is. So we tell people, go on the internet and do your research, but if you have questions, please come and ask us, because they're really tricky at fooling you on the internet, and we can show you the true facts of what's going on here.
And then the apparatus itself is just connected to your regular water supply, and then it's like a filter in its function, and you turn off, turn it on, kind of thing.
Yep. Yeah, there's several above-counter models, and then they also make an under-the-counter model too, because it does look like a medical device. So some people don't like that sitting in their kitchen, and the under-the-counter is very nice looking. So yeah.
Nice. Great. Well, thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you. And please, come on down to the demos. You'll be really very interested to see what's happening.
You're listening to Discover Janesville, and between now and February 16th, this program is going to extensively feature various talented individuals who were nominated for 2013 Janesville Area Creativity Awards. And what you just heard was original song by Mitch Kopnick called Under the Canopy, and it is one of the finalists in the People's Choice category of Outstanding Song of the Year. Now, that means that if you go to Janesville Performing Arts Center on February 16th, starting at 6 o'clock, because there needs to be time to sample all the food, and then the show begins at 7 o'clock, emceed by none other than Mr. Jim Like, and you should be there, but more about that later. In the meantime, let's continue with the program, and next is conversation with Kathy Myers.
Kathy Myers, welcome back to Discover Janesville. Kathy is our political correspondent, and at this time she's also a candidate for Janesville School Board. Kathy, you're once again wearing several hats. Where do we begin?
Well, we've got a lot to talk about. By the way, I missed you for the last 2 weeks. It was a nice break, and and that kind of thing. But I guess I'm just a little mystified by the Janesville School Board these days. It's refusing to bargain at all and to talk at all about the contract that they need to work on, that because the old one expires this June. And I'm very concerned about the secrecy with which it's being sort of dealt with. That they're not consulting the teachers, they're not consulting the people that are going to be impacted by the contract. And the fact that they're just not willing to talk about it really says to me that they need to, they don't regard perhaps the district like they should. We've talked about this several times before. I believe that the districts and really quality schools are great communities. And in great communities, people talk to each other and talk about the state of the district or the state of whatever kind of situation that they're in, and they work things out together. And, when we had collective bargaining laws, they were sort of forced to do that. And I guess I'm mystified the fact that they would not continue to work that way when I think it's worked pretty well in the past. And not that there isn't some contention sometimes in collective bargaining and some frustration at times in collective bargaining, but that's what you do, That's these people that work for your district, whether they are faculty or staff or otherwise, are not your minions. They are professionals, and you need great professionals in order to have a great district, and great professionals are part of the decision process. And so I guess I just really think that the Janesville School District, at least the way I perceive it right now, is falling short of its duties, and it is letting the community, and it's letting the kids and the teachers down.
Well, here's what I'm thinking. If you have a situation where you have two parties that could negotiate theoretically, and they're required by law to do so, if they are no longer required by law to negotiate, should you negotiate with this group that's in minority and has no say, politically speaking, or do you go, wait a minute, this was actually a good idea, and just because we were required to do so, it doesn't mean that we shouldn't be doing it now, and we should be doing this in the spirit of cooperation? Or do you just say, you know what, we have the ability to make some changes that we feel need to be made, and this is our chance?
I think that really successful places are places and establishments are places where people collaborate and work together. And I am not seeing that kind of attitude out of the Janesville School Board right now. And you do it because it's the right thing to do. it's an effective model. And I really think that the Janesville School District, needs to treat its professionals like the professionals they are, and talk to them and discuss things that may go into this handbook. And because it's just another run-of-the-mill company. There's nothing special about it. It's another mid-level, marginalized kind of community if you don't talk to people. And by the way, I'm a teacher, but my family also ran a business for 33 years and did so quite well, thank you. And we talked to our folks. We employed, it was a small business. We employed well over 50 people over the course of, the years, the decades. But we did a darn good job, and we talked to our people, and we cared about them. And, we didn't have the highest paid employees out there all the time, but we had a lot of people that stuck with us for 25, 30 years for a reason. And the reason is that they were respected. And we did very well because they were respected, and they respected us well enough to give us their best.
So in a quality organization, you have respect for all people involved.
Correct. There's just no way of getting around that. I don't care whether it's the law, whether you collectively bargain or not. It's just plain and simple the right thing to do. So just do it. Right. But, I was so glad to see that Kevin Murray voted, by the way, in favor of collective bargaining. So
one can count on Kevin to do that.
I think so, and I kind of expected it of him. I didn't have any reason to think he wouldn't vote that way, but I was just really glad to see that he's, willing to stick his neck out for the things that he knows is right. So
what else is there on your political radar?
Wednesday night, I went to the Rock County Progressives forum featuring Kathleen Vinehout. That woman is so incredibly knowledgeable about so many things. She is knowledgeable about the people that she represents and what they care about and what their needs are. She is knowledgeable about environmental issues. And by the way, during that presentation, she gave a really strong pat on the back to our Senator Tim Cullen for his knowledge and understanding. She said that he boiled down that whole mining issue for her, into something that just made so much sense about how ridiculous it is for them to be trying to mine up in the in the North Woods there, because frankly, while there's stuff to mine up there, it's so difficult to reach and so difficult to get out that the kind of environmental impact that we're likely to see is just going to be devastating to not just to Wisconsin either. It's going to be everybody that shares water out of the Great Lakes is going to be influenced by that mining bill if that ever goes through. But so she's so knowledgeable about that. But she was there last night to talk about healthcare, and she's got this healthcare exchange idea that she has put together and proposed, and I recommend everybody go and look at it as a explanation of how the Affordable Care Act and Wisconsin,
she just has. I was impressed with her on many levels, but her ability to boil things down and to something that people can understand, and also kind of have a vision about this. I think what she's looking for is to create more transparency so that people are able to make better choices and select things better.
That's right. She is,
sense,
Well, yeah, and she's also worked in education, has been in the educational field. She knows how to take very difficult situations and bring it down. What I loved best about her was that she didn't preach to us. Okay, she basically took us through all of the things that need to be considered on the issue. Okay, and it's like once you listen to to all of the facts that she provides, the scenarios that she has examined, and the cause and effect. I mean, it's like you come to the proper decision not because she told you to, but because she has guided you and she respects you enough to come to a really logical conclusion. And the way that she speaks to people and explaining things, and it's just phenomenal. I just think she is a remarkable public servant, and I really hope she runs for governor.
Well, that's what I was going to say, that she was one of the people that stepped up and ran in the recall election, and I don't think she ever had a serious chance of winning first the nomination and then winning in the recall. But she really she introduced herself to a lot of people who didn't know who she was before, and have been impressed with her ever since.
Well, and I think that was the best thing she could do. That's a way to introduce yourself and to put yourself on the statewide the platform and on people's radar. She is a Democrat who wins, by the way, up north, okay, in the Northwoods. She has great following up there and a lot of respect, and we don't get that out of the Kathleen Fox and the Tom Barretts, and as much as we'd like to, they just do not. They just don't seem to relate as well to people who live up in the Northwoods. And Kathleen Fox has got a good reputation up there. They like her, they trust her, and she's been up there for a while. And so, she also, she brings a great dynamic to the race, and especially a different kind of a story to the Democratic Party than what we typically have. It's not out of Madison, it's not out of Milwaukee, right. And I think people get tired of that.
Clinton, Clinton being a Southern Democrat, it's that being from an area that you're not everybody is the same party that you are, being kind of from minorities, so you have a chance of building a coalition. Because yes, being a liberal from Madison is unbelievably not rare.
That's right, and not that there aren't incredible people that come out of Madison and Milwaukee. I'm not saying that at all. I really admire and respect, our representatives and our candidates for governor.
Is all the more impressive.
Yeah.
But it's really neat to have people's person from North who is a great state senator with really exciting, I think, potential. Sure. So we'll keep our eyes open. But nonetheless, I thought it was great to have her stop by in Janesville and say, kind of talk about a few things. I think she's got a column that she was inviting people to check out. She writes a column, I think, weekly.
Yes, yeah. So if you go to her website, you will see this exchange program that she was talking about, plus her column. And it's I don't know what it is, but Google Kathleen Vinehout, and I'm sure you'll be led to it.
Right. Let's see, what else do we want to talk about? We got everybody got sworn in this past week.
Yes, so that was exciting.
A new delegation, and Deb Kolsty, I think, being the biggest difference in there, and it's really exciting with to see a new person enter this fishbowl, but there's only 39 Democrats, so it's going to be. We'll see. Right.
Well, did you see? You certainly heard that they're talking about the rules. They're going to try to change the rules so they don't end up pulling these all-nighters. And it's honestly, I don't know how. Kudos to them if they do it, but we're talking about people who created the culture, trying to change the culture. Who created the culture, and the culture, has worked for them in regards to their ability to ramrod things through, wear people out, and so I always have hope, Yuri. You know me. I'm always optimistic that at some point somebody will have an epiphany and become a better person or get some Zen or whatever, But do have a little bit of skepticism about their ability to do that, to change the rules, to make things work better in the, in
well,
the
and
state
there's
house.
another example of what we're seeing with the Janesville School Board, or where you have two groups where one has supposedly all the power. And to what extent do they care about the feelings and considerations and priorities of the other group?
Well, certainly, and they don't have to care, and that's the beauty of their situation, is that they have gerrymandered themselves so far into, people who hate term limits should be really ticked off about gerrymandering, okay? Because these people just guaranteed themselves a job for a very long time. And so, people who like term limits should hate gerrymandering. Because this gerrymandering, they lost Wisconsin, okay? The Republican Party lost Wisconsin, but they have managed to gerrymander their districts so much that they could still win and control the House. And so basically you have a group of people that do not represent the whole of Wisconsin, okay? They do not represent the way the electorate went in 2012 at all. And yet they're large and in charge in the State House. And they did it by manipulating the process and by manipulating the districts and their territories. And so you basically don't have representative government, because if you did, there would be a fair amount of balance to it, and there is not. And by the way, you can say that I'm sure that there will be people out there that say that I just have sour grapes because of, losing in 2010 and everything else. I'm saying that this does not serve Republicans or Democrats. So if the Democrats were to, it doesn't serve Wisconsin. Okay, and that something needs to be done. There are models out there, and we've talked about this before, for redistricting that are fair and balanced and encourage representation the way it should be. There are models that are used in our neighboring states, for instance. So something needs to be done within the next 7 years, when the next time this all happens, so that we can actually have...
Well, tell you on this note, when I spoke with Representative Loudenbeck about this, and I asked her, and she's a Republican, Amy is, and I asked her thoughts on how to approach redistricting, and she clearly said that she would prefer a more data-driven approach that was less politicized.
Well, good for her. That's encouraging. Then then my optimism, is coming back, Yuri. Yes.
Right. Excellent. So anything else that we want to touch on today?
Well, I want to make sure that people know that they can come to a meeting on Monday night at 6 p.m. on the Move to Amend, okay? And Move to Amend is about the Citizens United debacle on, about making corporations people. And we are going to be discussing this issue and what we can do about it, and organizing on this issue. If you are concerned about the amount of money that has flooded into elections, if you are concerned that a few people and corporations are buying our elections, whether you are a Democrat or Republican or whatever, then you need to come to this meeting and learn more about the Move to Amend program and the Move to Amend movement. And that is at 6 p.m. at my house, 515 St. Lawrence Avenue in Janesville, Wisconsin. And we would love to have you here. And we're going to hear presentations by the Move to Amend people, and we're going to talk about our next move and do some brainstorming and organizing. So, show up. Just bring yourself. You don't need anything special.
So
bring yourself and your ideas.
So just to get the address, 515 St. Lawrence.
Yes.
Right.
Yep, 515 St. Lawrence on the corner of St. Lawrence and Jackman in Janesville.
Excellent.
And again, 6 p.m. on Monday night, the 14th.
Great. And people can probably find you on Facebook as well to ask you any questions about your campaign or about this event, or since we're talking about getting together at Kathy's place on January 29th at 6 p.m.
Oh, yeah. I forgot all about that.
Well, because there's so much in your calendar. So there's just
I know.
So.
I know. Yuri, I was only thinking 1 week ahead, and now you've got me thinking 2 to 3 weeks. Yeah. All right.
Well, since I remembered, I figured I might as well take advantage of that.
Absolutely. Well, I'm glad you reminded me.
At 6 p.m., we are getting together. If you are interested in becoming a contributing member of Discover Janesville, we're going to have all sorts of exciting things for members. So join the conversation in person on January 29th at 6 p.m. So,
yes.
Well, Kathy, until we meet again next week.
Take care.
Take care. Bye-bye. You're listening to Discover Janesville with Yuri Rashkin, and we'll be back after these messages. Discover Janesville is proud to welcome a new sponsor, Water Wellness. Water Wellness is bringing a product to Janesville we thought we already knew, good water. But what makes Water Wellness water different from other water you can buy in Janesville is alkaline. Said to be a healthier version of water because it helps create a healthy pH balance, alkaline water contains antioxidants,
assists in cleansing the colon and detoxifying the body. It can even help improve hydration at the cellular level. Generated through a unique process of electrolysis, alkaline water involves taking regular tap water and separating it into two halves. One is acidic, the other one is alkaline. Learn more about this great product at free demonstrations conducted every Tuesday and Friday at 2 p.m. at Water and Wellness Store located at 220 West Milwaukee on the Janesville Mile. Got questions? Stop by the store and tell them you heard about alkaline water on Discover Janesville. The International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers, Local Union 890, and the National Electrical Contractors Association are proud to partner with Discover Janesville and promote the city of Janesville and all of southern Wisconsin. IBEW Local 890 and NECA take pride in their strong commitment to the local community and strive to provide safe, reliable electrical service to the citizens of Rock County. IBEW and NECA form a powerful partnership supplying the electrical industry with highly skilled and competent electricians and well-proven electrical contractors. Our workforce is poised and ready to complete your next project on time and on budget. Contact us at www.ibew890.org. Want to get involved in your community? Janesville New Lions Club is a group of community-minded, friendly men and women dedicated to help make Janesville a better place for all. Lions' mission is to help eradicate blindness and help visually impaired people, which Lions do in a variety of ways. From collecting used eyeglasses to delivering eye tissue to driving local visually impaired people to social outings. Janesville New Lions also take care of several parks, including Lions Beach. And coming up is the annual Rose Sale, which is the club's main fundraiser, helping fund all the Janesville New Lions projects throughout the year. Place your order by going to www.janesvillenewlions.org or by contacting any member of Lions Club in Janesville or Beloit. Orders are delivered anywhere in Rock County. Learn more by going to janesvillenewlions.org and join the club for lunch and a presentation on an important community issue on the first and third Tuesday of every month at the Elks Lodge at, you guessed it, noon. Janesville New Lions, be a lion. Did you know that you have a right under the Constitution for a fresh financial start? Many people these days have found themselves burdened by debt, the result of divorce, health issues, income loss, predatory lending practices by banks, and even the death of a spouse. Mary Law Offices helps people file for bankruptcy relief under the Bankruptcy Code. Mary Law Offices in Monroe, Janesville, Baraboo, and Stoughton have been in practice for 30 years. Roger Mary's reputation is as a lawyer who serves the underdog. As an attorney specializing in consumer bankruptcy, he has counseled clients at the most difficult points in their lives and has served generations of people in the south central regions of Wisconsin. Call Mary Law Offices at 608-325-2065 in Monroe or 608-758-1066 in Janesville for an appointment, or find us online at www.marylawoffice.com.
Join the UAA, celebrate the arts today. Join the UAA, share your art in every way. Artists and painters, musicians and actors, writers and singers, performers and dancers. Join the UAA, celebrate the arts today.
Southern Wisconsin Building and Construction Trades Council. We are not a union, but a union of unions. We cover almost every sector of the workforce in our jurisdiction, including members in the building construction trades, such as electricians, iron workers, sheet metal, and steam fitters, who promote apprenticeships to provide a skilled and trained workforce for our contractors. Visit our website at www.swbtrades.org for more information, or call 608-754-4130. Southern Wisconsin Building and Construction Trades Council, building America.
You're listening to Discover Janesville. My name is Yuri Rashkin. Next, we're going to go ahead and listen to a talk by State Senator Kathleen Weinhaut, who came to speak in Janesville as part of Rock County Progressive's monthly get-together at Basics Cooperative.
Welcome, everybody. Great turnout here. Glad you guys could come out. My name is Chuck Ogg, and I'm with the Rock County Progressives. And just a brief bit about us. We are a nonpartisan organization whose mission is to promote education and activism in Rock County. We do, of course, have Democratic Party politicians sometimes because they're very knowledgeable in issues and they're engaged. We're not opposed to having Republicans, but has anyone seen a progressive one? I haven't run into any, but we'll resurrect it. No problem. So we're open to alternatives, and I want people to keep that in mind. But we really think the issues are what counts. I mean, our mission is really to hold the politicians' feet to the fire. I should say that too loud. So that they will know that we care about these issues and that they will represent us on the issues. Okay, so that's our mission. We're completely volunteer-based. If anyone wants to get involved, please see me. We do meet regularly, as we don't publicize our organizational meetings. Let us know if you want to be part of that. We also, in addition, help to promote drinking liberally. I mean, it's a separate national organization. Okay, it doesn't mean you have to drink a lot or necessarily alcoholically, but we gather socially every month, and we do it in the speakeasy, and that's a week from tonight. So whereas we're always the second Wednesday for this, the third Wednesday is drinking liberally. So hope to see you there. It's at 7 o'clock in Speakeasy in Janesville. Next month, we are going to do a forum on the environment. We haven't got our speakers finalized, but we're going to focus on two really important issues: the mining that's going to be happening up north and the mining of the sand for fracking. Both of those are issues that we care a lot about, and I want to promote a protest which is coming up in Madison along those lines, Saturday, January 26th at noon. A peaceful legal protest demands the state legislature and the government not throw away Wisconsin's local control and environmental protections for out-of-state companies. A noon rally followed by a march, and one of its demands is to protect treaty rights, which is a big part of course, that whole issue up there, as well as healthy, sustainable jobs and environmental protections. Other important things to keep on your calendar. A number of you may have come to a previous event we had on Move to Amend. That is going forward here in Rock County, and if you want to be part of that, there's a meeting at Kathy Myers. There she is, 515 Lawrence Avenue, 6 p.m., January 14th. So come to that if you want to get engaged in one of, I think in the long term, maybe the most important issue out of all the issues, because without clean elections, all the other issues we care about almost don't mean anything. So, we have to turn back the clock. We have to, make it clear that corporations aren't people. By the way, if I can just tell you something funny, I heard the other day, this guy recently got arrested for driving in the lane where you're supposed to be carpooling, and he's trying, because he had one person, supposed to have more than one person in a car. Well, he had his incorporation papers for his corporation. So it's supposed to have two people in the car. He said he's going to take that all the way to the Supreme Court. We'll see. Okay. I want to say something briefly on the issue of health care, which is this is our primary topic, and people don't feel they have to stick strictly to this topic. We have only one speaker this time. Sometimes we have two speakers, so hopefully this will give us time to talk about other issues as well. But one of the issues that really grips people, that's really important these days, is health care. Now, I suspect that many of you are like me and a little disappointed that we didn't move all the way to what we really need, which is health care for all in the form of single payer, sort of Medicare for all. I mean, we know that, let's face it, health care and profit don't really mix. I mean, there are some markets where profit is fine, but not in the area of health care. And I think places like Vermont may be the shining beacons of the future where they're pioneering ways to do that within the Affordable Care Act. And I think that's awesome and something to keep an eye on. Maybe like Canada, where it started in one province and spread everywhere else, and they saw how great it was. Maybe that's what will happen. But in the meantime, back here in Wisconsin, where politics are a little different, we have a bit of a different problem on our hands. I mean, the Affordable Care Act is great, absolutely. It's great because, if nothing else, it is going to expand health care to those who don't, health insurance to those who don't have it. And that, let's face it, for those people, that's going to be a tremendous boon. But making that work properly, is going to be a problem, especially with Walker, and the other Republican governors, saying, "Whoa, Mike, it's not I'm not going to play the game if it's not my game," or something like that. I mean, look at that juvenile. I just feel we're not going to participate in setting up these healthcare exchanges. To me, I don't want to go in like that. You probably agree with me on that. So what's going to happen? And this remains an open question. And so, based on that kind of uncertainty, we thought that would be a great issue. And I noticed that Senator Whitehouse had written a really good article about it that was published in the Cap Times. I thought she would be an ideal person to have for it. And we've been trying to get her anyway for a while. She was one of the Wisconsin 13. We've had some of them. It's our goal to collect them all. I think they should put out cards, little cards of 14. In any event, she is eminently qualified to talk about the subject. A little bit of her history. She was elected to the Senate in 2006. She came to politics relatively late, spending 10 years running a family dairy farm, and then 10 years before that teaching health administration. In her first run for public office, she was elected to state senate from a large, mostly rural district, which I think, is something we really need to learn, how to reach out to those districts. I mean, that is, I think, where the crux lies in terms of Wisconsin politics. This is the 31st Senate district. As I said during the protest, she was one of the senators who left to deny the state Senate a quorum on Governor Walker's controversial budget repair legislation. She also, as I'm sure you all know, ran for the Democratic Party nomination for governor in the recall elections. She understands health care from a wide range of perspectives. In the Senate, she worked to make health care affordable, create health insurance exchanges for individuals, farmers, and small businesses. For 10 years, she was a member of the faculty and taught in the Health Services Administration and Women's Studies programs. And I think this last part is something that, a few other politicians, I look at the millionaires clubs, especially in the Senate and the House, at the federal level, but even here to a certain extent. As a farmer, she and her family spent nearly 2 years without health insurance. And I think if we took away health insurance from our politicians, I think we'd have an amazing revolution overnight. They would actually know what it's like, and I know what it's like as a part-time adjunct constructor, getting paid almost nothing, where you just hope nothing happens to you because you can't afford it. And that may be the most important lesson of them all. So let's give a big hand.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here. And I want to thank Janesville for being a stop on my way to Illinois. And if you do have playing cards for the Wisconsin 14, you have to have a playing card for my sister, Doug, and my brother-in-law. My brother-in-law died, my sister, Kelly, because in a small Culver's in Freeport, Illinois, at 10:30 at night, they said to 12 weary travelers, "Do you know where you're going to stay tonight?" And those 12 weary travelers said, "No, I really don't." And she said, "I'm a psychologist, and I look at you and I think on your Illinois political refugee classification, you probably would be eligible for services. So maybe you should stay at my house." And my sister opened her door to almost all, not quite all, because a few of them had relatives down in Illinois besides me, and opened her door, and Chris Larson, the current minority leader, slept on my sister's floor in the basement until the border patrol of the teabaggers in both Beloit and Rockford together scoured the area and finally figured out a week later that the teabag guy that lived across the street and had been watching my sister's house with a telescope, not binoculars, but a telescope, finally figured out 1 week later that the teabag guy that lived across the street had been watching my sister's house with a telescope, not binoculars, but a telescope, finally figured out 1 week later that the teabag guy that lived across the street had been watching my sister's house with a telescope, not binoculars, but a telescope, finally figured out 1 week later After there had been, 12 cars with Wisconsin license plates, and my friend, who's not the same color I am, coming and going, figured out that the Wisconsin 14 was right under their nose. When they found it out, they wrote about it in all their blogs. So if you ever want to look at the history of the Wisconsin 14, it is on the blogosphere, on the teabaggers, all the teabag people's, all their little websites. So thank you very much. I'm glad to be here. I'm here to talk about health care. Thank you. I love Janesville. I'm here to talk about health care. Health care is a topic that is so near and dear to me. It is what motivated me to run for the Wisconsin State Senate. As Chuck just told you, I was an uninsured dairy farmer when I ran for the state senate. I also had a PhD in health services from the School of Public Health at St. Louis University and had a master's degree in public health. And actually, although this sounds odd, in my county, there are 2 dairy farm families where both spouses, full-time dairy farm families, where both spouses have a PhD. So there's Buffalo County for you. Don't you ever think that those rural people aren't educated. Although I will say, in my neighborhood, my PhD is a little bit of a liability. So I don't talk about it very much unless I'm far away from home. But this is the reason why I ran for the Senate. In the first 6 months of the Senate, when I was a senator, in the spring of 2007, the Democrats had control of the Senate, but not the Assembly. I and Senator Urbanbach and Senator Miller, both from Madison, together crafted a bill that became Healthy Wisconsin. You will recall that bill because we, especially me, was accused of being the queen of the $15 billion tax increase in the next campaign. But what they didn't tell you is that we eliminated, let me say it one more time, eliminated health insurance premiums. They were gone. Totally gone. Think about that. For $15 billion, we bought health insurance for every man, woman, and child in the state of Wisconsin. We figured it out in the spring of 2007. Now, in 2009, of course, the short end of that happened with my good friend Judy Robson, your senator, who tried very, very hard to get this passed. She made a very bold decision in a quiet room on the second floor of the Capitol when we presented her our plan, and we said, "What do you think?" And she hesitated for a minute, and I thought 6 months' worth of work was going to go up in smoke. And she said very quietly, after everybody had argued their point, she said very quietly, "It will go in the budget." And then she walked out the door and into the room of press. And it just gives me shivers to remember that, because it was her boldness and her foresight that forced the issue of health care for all in the summer of 2007 before anybody at the state level or at the national level was talking about something as bold as what happened when the president finally passed the Affordable Care Act. And you and I both know that the Affordable Care Act is not exactly where we wanted to go. We wanted a public option. We wanted those insurance companies to have a real reason, a real force to bring down costs. And of course, a lot of us said, insurance, well, like Chuck said, where's Chuck? Like Chuck said, insurance, healthcare, not thinking this goes together. So what happened after that? In 2009, I drafted 6 different bills. Almost all of them were then picked up by Governor Doyle and put in the budget, which sometimes happens when you have a good idea. You know the old saying, said, if you don't care who gets credit, it's amazing what you can get done. So at that time, one of the bills I drafted, for example, was to allow adult children, to carry on their parents' plan until age 27. Now, this was in the spring of 2009. This actually became law in July of 2009. You'll recall then Obama passed, and the Congress passed the plan, the Affordable Care Act in 2010. The whole time that Affordable Care Act was being written, I was watching it very closely. In fact, I read the bill through twice to make sure that the draft I had creating a Wisconsin-based exchange, hello and welcome, the draft I had was going to be completely implementable or under the federal rules, meaning everything was consistent at the federal level and the state level. So in the spring of 2010, I introduced the first Wisconsin exchange. And then the summer of 2010, the rules came out, I rewrote the bill, and then introduced it again when I got back from Illinois in the late summer of 2011. So twice, actually 3 times, if you count Healthy Wisconsin, I've introduced a bill that would bring health care, affordable health care, to people here in Wisconsin. A little footnote on that whole story, when the Republicans took over in 2011, all the changes that I made, including the let your child stay on your health insurance until age 27, they repealed all those laws. Yeah, so it used to be that you had a better law here in Wisconsin than in the federal level, but now we're back to the federal law. So the article that I wrote about, that Chuck asked me to come and talk tonight about, is the bill that I wrote that's now called Senate Bill 273. It's actually going to have a new number in the new legislative session, but it creates a Wisconsin-based exchange. And there's a lot of discussion among progressives about whether or not this is indeed a good idea. I talked with Senator Cullen, your senator, yesterday about this idea, and he said, I keep thinking Secretary Smith, Kathleen Sebelius, Secretary Smith, Kathleen Sebelius, and of course Secretary Smith is our Secretary of the Department of Health up in Madison. He said, I'm thinking that I really trust Kathleen Sebelius, which is Secretary of Health and Human Services under Barack Obama. I trust Barack Obama's administration better than I trust Governor Walker's administration to administer this new exchange. And I said, Senator Cullen, I agree with you, except if I would look at this bill that I've written, this bill would put into law some things that the governor definitely doesn't want to do. And I'm under no illusion that the governor is going to pass my bill, but the reason why I'm putting it out there is because I strongly, strongly feel that we have the resources here in Wisconsin, if we had a governor that had the will to do it, to create a much stronger exchange than what we would have at the federal level. Now, I have a handout. I'm not going to give it to you right away, but it's here for you to take home. It describes the exchange and why it's a good idea, but let me give you just a 3-minute overview of it. An exchange is kind of like a single place on the internet where you can go to buy a health care package. And you could also have your insurance agent help you through this process. But the idea behind that little place on the internet is to bring as much competition to some type of industry that if you bought health insurance, has a whole lot of fine print, and it's really, really hard to figure out how you compare that one fine print package to another fine print package to another fine print package. Because basically what this does is take away all the fine print and say, boy, if you're going to be part of us playing on this field, you got to meet all these rules. And that's what it does. That's what it does. And those rules are things like you can't hold pre-existing conditions against somebody. You can't charge more money for women than men. You can't hold the fact that somebody has it's going to have a lot of hair, like they're diabetic. That's a pre-existing condition, but also lifetime limits. You can't hold that against. You can't say you've met your lifetime limit, we're not going to cover you anymore. And you have to take everybody who comes in the door. And this is part of the problem with insurance companies right now. So in Wisconsin, we have 2 different organizations that have operated for almost 10 years that have been kind of a melting of the insurance industry and the health providers, the hospitals and doctors, and they collected claims information, and they say that they post this claims information so the businesses can tell who's good and who's not, or who's good quality and low cost. But honestly, the information is very hard to understand. So my thought was, why not make this as transparent as possible? And say I was hiring somebody who had diabetes, and I was a small business person and wanted to find coverage for my 5 people, and I knew one of them had diabetes. I could go to the internet, put in the word diabetes, and then have the plans ranked on how well they took care of my previous patients with diabetes. How were they ranked? And this is something that if you were going to go to Consumer Report and buy a car, you'd have information on the reliability of that car. You'd have information not only on the cost of every single option, but what the owners of that car thought about the car and how well that car performed for the past 3 or 4 or 5 years. That's the kind of information we need on health plans. When the health plans say they're competitive, they're not really competitive because they have all the power to write all the rules, and all you have is a bunch of fine print, and you have no bargaining power with that health plan. So, in the short version, what this idea of the exchange is supposed to do is use what they call managed competition, meaning the government's playing the job of the referee and calling the fouls on those companies that aren't following the rules. Use competition to drive down costs. It's no accident that the first time this idea came forward in 1993 against the Clinton administration, this idea first came forward from a Republican think tank called the Heritage Foundation. But think about this, how Obamacare has been distorted for political purposes. And we've moved not, what's right for you, this is my life, we've moved not to the center, not even to the near right, we've moved to the far right because the far right has moved so far we can't even see them. That's what's happened. So, I'm going to give you my handout, you're going to know that this bill exists. But I want to also share my vision, what I see. I imagine healthcare reform as the ocean. It's there. I can see the ocean, but it's pretty far away. And there's a stream in front of us, and there's a lot of boulders in that stream, but there's definitely, if we can get around those boulders, a path to that ocean. There is a path to healthcare for all, and I can see that path. And part of the way that we can do this, and you talked about Chuck Vermont, part of the way that we can do this is in the Affordable Care Act, commonly called Obamacare. There is a provision that by 2017, not that far away, states can decide that the exchange can be opened up to anyone, not just limited to businesses. In my bill, I limit it to businesses under 100 because I want to limit it. I want to open it up as far as I can under the law. But states can choose to limit it only to businesses and people who buy insurance on their own, like farmers, up to 50 employees. But I decided to make it as large as possible. So if you have 100 employees, you can be part of the exchange. Well, think about this. We need school districts. We need local employees that work for the city of Janesville. We need large companies. We need as many people as possible to be part of the exchange. Because when that happens, the bigger the pool, the lower the cost. And that's the philosophy of this. The bigger the pool, the lower the cost. It's exactly what happens in the province of Saskatchewan, which was the beginning of the Canadian system. I mean, they began to think in a much bigger way than we have for years. So I do believe that Vermont is on the right track, and I do believe that there's a path. But I have to say we have to be patient. And the first thing we need is a new government. Yes. I know there were some questions about mining and sand mining, so if you don't mind, before I ask for your questions, I want to talk a little bit about mining and sand mining. And then I'm going to ask you for any questions that you have. So get your questions in your mind. I spent yesterday all day in caucus with my Democratic colleagues in the Senate, And I have read a lot about mining. I read the original bill that came out of the Assembly. And I learned more in 15 minutes listening to your senator, Senator Cullen, than I learned in all of the time I spent reading the bill and all of the time I spent reading the newspaper articles about it. So you do have right here in Janesville the smartest, one of the 2 or 3 smartest guys in the state on this issue. And I'm going to share what he told me. So this is Senator Cullen speaking. God put too much water in northern Wisconsin to make iron ore mining work. That's what he said. And the deposit is at an angle rather than straight down, which means that the mining company would have to cut a V shape rather than straight down. That means a tremendous amount of, I forget what the mining word is, there's a word for waste, but a tremendous amount of waste, basically soil and rock. Overburden. That's it. Overburden. That means soil. Topsoil that grows plants. Overburden. Jeez. So there's so much dirt and stuff that would come out of that mine that's not iron ore, that the amount of iron ore that they would take is 20% of the total volume that they would have to take out. Which means that they would have a lot of stuff they'd have to deal with. Now, he listed all the waters, and I remember 2 lakes and 2 major rivers and like 25 trout streams, and then a whole bunch of swamps, which are what we call wetlands. And then they would have to take out this dirt, they'd have to put it somewhere, it would have acid in it. The water from the mine would go into the Bad River. The Bad River travels through the Bad River Band of the Lake Superior Chippewa, who have their own water rules on safe drinking water. And then it would go into Lake Superior, which also feeds into Lake Michigan, which many people draw their water from. And he said, Wisconsin is not the only player in this game. The Corps of Engineers has to sign off. And if the Corps of Engineers thinks the state law is working with them, they will work very hard with the state. But if they think the state law has gone too far, they will drag their feet. And 4 years could turn into 6 years, which could turn into 9 years, which could turn into 19 years. So we've got litigation from the Bad River tribe when the effluent may travel through their wetlands and their rice fields and their own tribe, which has its own water, their own tribal reservation lands. We've got the Army Corps of Engineers, which has to sign off on it, and we've got something called the Great Lakes Compact, which regulates water flowing into and out of the Great Lakes, which is a compact agreement that is not only among the governors of the upper Midwest, but also among some certain Canadian provinces. It's an interstate agreement. So in the most recent Chamber of Commerce up in Eau Claire, I was asked about the mining, and I said we must be very careful because if we do not do this right, it's going to end up in court for a very long time and there will be no jobs created. I had no idea until I listened to Senator Cullen how right I was. So in some people's mind, they're saying let's have the worst possible mining bill because there's no way it's ever going to pass. It's going to end up for sure in court, and the mining jobs aren't going to be there. So now I'm hearing that perhaps this whole thing is a smokescreen, so the governor can run in 2014 and say, it's the Obama administration that's tying this all up, and it's all his fault that I don't have any mining jobs yet. So, there you go. That's your 5 necessarily on your radar screen, but it has consumed more of my time than anything else in the last 2 years. I live at the epicenter of sand mines in the state of Wisconsin. I have 5 or 6 counties, and we have about, I'm going to say about 20 operating mines, but many, many, many more are pending. In just one county, the county of Trempealeau, there are at least 100 permits pending on sand mines. Now, that's just one county. In the state of Wisconsin, 1,000-acre sand mines are regulated like 1-acre gravel pits. That's the way the state of Wisconsin regulates sand mines. 1,000-acre sand mines are regulated like 1-acre gravel pits. And so we have very little state law that will stop what's happening. And the sand mines, these are sand mines that many of them are front companies created by oil and gas interests in Texas. The sand mines have come into areas, looked in my neighborhood, found the townships that are unzoned, and moved very fast to set up those mines before the local people have any idea what's happening. And they have paid a lot of money. I used to represent Sparta and Toma, and between Sparta and Toma there's now a 1,000-acre mine owned by a company named Uniman. When they came in, let me say this, land that sold in the summer of 2010 for $2,000 an acre, in the summer of 2011 sold for $24,000 an acre. $2,000 to $24,000. And it's very, very hard for some of the poor farmers that have spent their entire life cash poor to resist that. But it's created all kinds of problems. All kinds of problems. There's been problems with the water, contamination of the water. People are afraid that their water table is being sucked dry. The sand mines use a large amount of water. A lot of the extraction is done. Some of the extraction is done, and then the washing is done with water. There are chemicals that are used in the washing to separate their good sand from their bad sand, from the overburden, the sand they don't want. These chemicals are called flocculants. Some of them are cancer-causing chemicals. Some of this activity is happening very, very close to the water table and very close to the Mississippi River. For example, in Maiden Rock, there is an underground mine that they expect will eventually be 900 acres underground, including under the village of Maiden Rock, 350 feet underground, and they're mining within 50 feet of the water table, and they're discharging very, very close to the Mississippi River. So that's my world. There are some mines that have been in existence for 30 years in the area, so sand mines are not totally unheard of. But in those cases, the mine is usually surrounded by a very large berm, which is just a really big hill that protects it, and there's a railroad spur that goes into it, and that railroad spur goes in, takes the sand, and then removes it. But what's happening now with this proliferation of mines in all of the countryside is that the roads are being torn up. And the roads, sometimes the local people are able to negotiate some money for the roads, sometimes they aren't. There was recently a mining association that was put together by 4 of these mines, and the rumors of the Capitol are that the reason they put together the association, among other things, is that they want a state law that says that that their local community cannot charge the mines for the damage to the road. So that's my world. I am right now drafting 5 or 6 bills that have to do with sand mines. I want you to be aware of them just because you're concerned and knowledgeable citizens. They mostly have to do with right to know. So they have to do with whether or not the local people have been notified, whether or not there was a public hearing, whether or not there's a contract around on the land surrounding the land that you're about to buy. So I had a man that came into my area. He bought 80 acres. It was beautiful hunting land. and recreational land. He put up a $190,000 house, and as he was putting the finishing touches on his dream house, found out that the 3 of his 4 neighbors had contracts on a sand mine. So disclosure on real estate is one of the laws that I'm drafting. So it's good that you know this, because Wisconsin is being taken out of our state one railroad car at a time in western Wisconsin. One railroad car at a time. And there's no kind of severance tax, there's no kind of gross tonnage, none of those things that do apply to the iron ore, our part of the iron ore law. So that's your reason to come next week or next time you meet.
Yeah. I was going to say, and then what it's used for after they do
we didn't even get that far. Yeah, then what it's used for. That's a really good point. Is, if you has anybody here seen the movie Gasland? Okay, some of you have. For those of you that haven't, I highly recommend that you take a look at it. If you can get it on Netflix, it's kind of a homemade movie. It's about a guy in Pennsylvania who had on the mail a guy was going to offer him $100,000 to come on his land, and he said, "Wow, this is amazing! It's just a miracle." And then he started asking his neighbors about it, and basically the oil company or the natural gas company was going to come and drill on his land. And then he just asked the normal questions that anybody would ask and took his video camera with him. And slowly, the world of the gas fracking business came to light. And it's his sort of journey into knowledge. And it's really powerful. It's very homemade. And you can tell it's homemade, but it's very powerful.
Yeah, as well, the new Gus Van Sant movie.
What is it?
Oh,
yeah. Has anybody seen that? Good. Okay. What do you think of it?
It is good. I served on the Wind Siting Council. The wind turbine siting is the same kind of a deal. Coming in and leasing land, not telling the neighbors, co-opting the local officials. So, as a matter of fact, they first started making promised land about wind turbines.
Really?
And then when fracking came in, dramatically, they changed the topic.
Wow.
But it's the same playbook.
Wow. And that...
the movie's good.
Wow. What's your name?
Doug Swenson.
Doug. Well, Doug, that's what we've learned in western Wisconsin firsthand in a way that nobody in my neighborhood has ever had any background in dealing with before. And that's the techniques of the oil and gas industry, what they do, how they throw their money around, how they buy off communities, how they pit neighbors against neighbors, how they come up with huge engineering studies with poor, farmers and fishermen that don't have any technical background at all. They threaten lawsuits, they threaten to drag these poor townships that only have a budget of $100,000 to court. I mean, it's just very, very sad what's happening in western Wisconsin. And unfortunately, our newspapers in the eastern part of the state have covered it very little. They covered it a little bit in the State Journal, but not much in the Journal Sentinel at all. So I have a reporter that's actually one of my constituents who works for the Star Tribune, and he said, "By golly, we're going to win a Pulitzer Prize in our coverage of it because we're really, really interested." And that's the newspaper out of Minneapolis. And his most recent article just happened last week. And his most recent article was about the conflict of interest among the local elected officials who have interest in the sand mines, basically who the oil and gas industry is trying to buy off and use those local elected officials to pit neighbor against neighbor.
And it's a routine way of doing business.
And we know nothing about it. We had blinders on. We had no idea what we were up against, and they moved as fast as they could. Yeah. And that's why people call me and they say, "There's a sand mine going in down the road," and I didn't know anything about it. There was no meeting. There was nothing. No public discussion about it at all. And now this mine is going to be there for 50 years is in my neighborhood, and I can't stop. There's nothing I can do. People are talking about 30-40% decreases in property value. And think about it. I mean, we are the country of property rights, and people are taking away your property rights because of what they did down the road, and you have no choice. I mean, everything is wrong about it.
With the wind siting, the state is complicit in this
Yeah.
Isn't it true that it's a certain kind of sand?
Yes. Yes.
That's what I thought.
Yes, I'm so glad you asked that question because this touches my love of the hills. The sand is 500 million years old. 500 million years old. Western Wisconsin has the perfect hardness, shape, and accessibility of this sand of any place in the United States. Any place in the United States. It is the best possible sand anywhere in the United States. And Wisconsin, the hills of western Wisconsin, are 500 million years old. And I say this, I'm so glad you asked the question, because I say this because this is what not only touches my heart, but it touches the heart of the people who came from Illinois, who came from southern Wisconsin, who came from Michigan, who came from Minnesota, and who grew up in the hills, and all came to western Wisconsin to live this rural life in what I think is one of the most beautiful spots in Wisconsin.
Shouldn't this valuable resource be enough to pay for our whole budget?
Oh my gosh. We can definitely solve our budget problems. There's no question about it. And what's really sad, what my constituents tell me, remind me of over and over again, they say to me, Kathleen, who has the best budget situation in the entire country? And it's North Dakota. Why? North Dakota charges all those people that are making money on that oil and natural gas industry. They charge for the depletion of their natural resources. They are putting that money away, knowing that they're going to have to pay way down the road for all the damage that's happening in western North Dakota. And they have one of the best budget situations in the country as a proportion of their whole budget.
And Wisconsin doesn't.
Not a dime. My constituents tell me, Kathleen, I watched those railroad cars go down up the Mississippi River, and I watched Wisconsin leave one carload at a time. That's what they tell me. That's what my people tell me. I've just talked with the railroad industry, with someone who works with the railroad industry, and he told me that right now Burlington Northern, they're best customers, but they are now shipping more sand than they are coal, than any other commodity. Sand is leaving Wisconsin on the railroads in western Wisconsin.
Thank you for listening to Discover Janesville. My name is Yuri Rashkin. Please make sure to check out the program at www.discoverjanesville.com. Like the program on Facebook and send us any email and questions you may have to discoverjanesville@gmail.com. Till next time, take care.